Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/Am I the Asshole, where OP helped Karma find its way towards his cheating wife. Let's begin. Am I the asshole for telling my ex-wife's fiancé the truth about our divorce? Posted by Reddit user SparkMandrill.
My ex-wife and I got divorced 3 years ago. In college, we worked at the same restaurant. That's where we met. We were together for 7 years and married for a little over 3.5 years. We divorced because she cheated twice. 2 years into our marriage, I discovered she was having an affair with a former classmate. I collect enough evidence and confront her. She confesses everything. The affair was about 2 months long. This was a really terrible time and was really hard to work through with her. You can call me an idiot, but I am a forgiving person. I do believe in second chances and that people can change. We agreed to reconcile.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
We did the work. We had marriage counseling. We read some of the books. She went no contact with the classmate right away. Open phone policy. We told our parents. She was doing the right things and our relationship was recovering. 1 year into our reconciliation, her aunt dies. I am very busy with work and cannot attend the services as they are on Thursday and Friday, back in her hometown 5 hours away. Her parents and brother no longer lives there, so she stayed with a good friend from high school. I had met this friend a few times and was comfortable with that. On Saturday morning, my wife texted me that the car was loaded and she was about to start making the drive home. About an hour after that, I got a Facebook message from the friend, who stated she wouldn't be able to live with herself if she just let this go. She informed me that my wife had gone out Friday night with some old friends from high school. The friend thought nothing of this until she discovered my wife had left her phone behind, and that she didn't come back until the following morning. I had gotten a text that Friday night from my wife that she was going to bed early, since the past few days had been emotionally draining. I confronted my wife as soon as she got home. She was really hesitant to tell me anything, so I lied to her and told her if we were going to work through this, I needed to know everything like the last time. That got her to confess that she had gone out and had gone home with an old friend from high school. She said they didn't have sex but did do stuff that I won't go into detail about here. It didn't matter. Once I got enough of the truth, I left for my parents' house. That week, my dad called my landlord and paid all the termination fees and got me out of the lease. We went and got my stuff while she was at work. My parents set me up with a friend of theirs that was a divorce attorney and he cut me a deal. It took about 7 months for the divorce to finalize. That was 3 years ago. I have an awesome girlfriend and am doing well. This past weekend I got a Facebook message from a guy who is now engaged to my ex-wife. He introduced himself and said he was probably just being crazy, but he wanted to know why we had gotten divorced. He said he had broached the subject a few times, and she always gets weird. She had told him we had divorced because we grew apart, but mostly she just deflects or is really vague. I told him the truth and offered evidence if he would like. He declined and thanked me for my time and story. A day later I got a phone call from a local but unknown number. I answer and it's my ex-wife. She is really upset and asks me why I am trying to ruin her future. I get her to calm down and talk. She says her fiancé has asked for some space and is staying with his parents this week. That he is saying he needs to reevaluate their relationship. She wants to know why I told him all about our past and why I'm still punishing her. She tells me she's not that person anymore, has done all this work, and been in therapy, that she deserves another chance and I'm being petty and hateful. There were a few generic insults thrown. I got a little pissed and told her if she really changed for the better, she would have been upfront with him about our past and owned up to cheating in her prior marriage, and then gone about showing her fiancé that she was ready to be a worthy partner to him, unlike she was with me. Instead, she tried to lie and hide the truth and now it's blowing up in her face, again. She said a few choice words and hung up. I haven't heard anything since. I told my girlfriend and she reassured how I handled it. But I find myself feeling guilty. I still believe in second chances and that people can change. While I would have felt wrong lying to the guy, I wonder if I should have handled the whole thing differently or just not responded. If she is truly different and this is just a blip, I don't want to be the thing that prevents her from finding happiness, but also believe I'm not what's hurting her engagement. Am I the asshole?
You are absolutely not the asshole here, OP. He wouldn't have reached out to you of all people if he didn't see any red flags. He asked you. It's not like you sought him out, but unlike you, he didn't tolerate that bullshit and ended things with her straight away. Look, believing someone can change is perfectly fine, but giving them another chance to do it to you again? That's just stupid, OP. With that kind of attitude, I think your new girlfriend will do the exact same to you very soon. Good luck with that. And now for today's second story. Karma. Maybe I deserved all of this. Posted by Reddit user formalwhile7919.
My wife and I met in 2016 when I was working as shift leader in a care home and she was the new employee. I remember liking her straight away. She was kind, funny, and sexy. I abused my power as shift leader to make sure we kept working together as the days and weeks progressed. One day, I asked her if she had a boyfriend. She said that she did, but that he mistreated her. He made her do all the household chores. They never spent time together, and they had only had sex a few times over the course of a 6-year relationship. I asked her why she was still with him. She said it was for the convenience and because she had nowhere else to go. I then had visions of myself as the knight in shining armor, ready to rescue her from the dull and abusive boyfriend.
By the end of this, you are going to be crying like a little bitch.
Shortly after, we started texting most nights, and I remember telling her that I was falling in love with her. She said she felt the same about me. It wasn't long before we spent our first night together in a hotel. I remember this as one of the best nights of my life. A few days later, she told me she had ended it with her boyfriend, and within a couple of weeks, she and I rented a flat together. Our relationship was intense to say the least. We were having sex 2 or 3 times a day. She had a way of making me feel really special. She took an interest in all of my hobbies. She would cook my favorite dinners. She even left love notes for me to find in my work bag. Within a few months in early 2017, she became pregnant. But then tragedy struck. Our first child was born premature and died shortly after. In some ways, this incredible sadness brought us closer together, and in 2018, we got married. It was a big fairy tale wedding, which is something we had both often fantasized about. But by this point, our relationship had changed. We both had better paid jobs. The sex had died down. We settled into a routine that was comfortable, but far removed from the whirlwind of our first few months together. Then my wife had her first affair with a colleague from work. She had told me she was spending the night with some girlfriends, but I found in her bag the receipt for a hotel. I confronted her about this and she admitted to spending the night with a male colleague. But she denied and still denies to this day that anything happened. Regardless, this left me shocked and heartbroken. I remember my wife and I stayed up all night talking. She apologized for what she did, but said that it was my behavior that led her to have the affair. In particular, the fact that we weren't spending time together, and I was often complaining about how much I disliked my job. This wouldn't be the last time she'd use this tactic. Maybe I was a fool, but I fell for it when she blamed me for the affair. That same night, we made up in the bedroom, and a few weeks later she became pregnant. I'll admit this was an extremely stressful pregnancy as I had doubts about the fatherhood. Unfortunately, however, tragedy struck again and the baby was also born prematurely and died shortly after. This was in 2019, and I don't remember much of what followed in that year. But I remember 2020 vividly. This was the year of COVID, and my wife and I spent all day, every day in each other's company, going for walks, playing video games, talking about our hopes and dreams for the future. It felt a bit like old times. We bought our house together, and then third time lucky, she gave birth to our beautiful daughter, who was born at full term. 2021 was a year devoted to our daughter. As you can imagine, this was a very exciting time for us as new parents, or at least it was for me. I loved spending time with the little one, but as a consequence of that, I probably spent less time with my wife. I could also see that she was struggling with the tediousness of parenthood. The midwife suggested she might be struggling with postnatal depression, although she never sought proper help for this. In 2022, my wife seemingly became more depressed, and it felt a bit like we were co-parents rather than husband and wife. Sex was almost non-existent, and we spent most evenings doing separate things. I would play video games, and she would sit in bed scrolling. We talked about this in December 2022, and I was determined to rebuild our marriage. My sexual needs weren't being met, and she said her emotional needs weren't being met. To address this, we incorporated a BDSM dynamic into both the bedroom and everyday life. Honestly, this felt fantastic, almost like we were falling in love again. So much so that we even started trying for a baby as recently as February 2023. Of course, it wasn't perfect, and we still had the occasional argument, but things we definitely looking up. And then, when browsing the computer one day, I saw in her recent search history accidentally, as I had no reason to suspect anything, that she had been researching the morning after pill. I searched further back in her history and saw that she had spent the previous set in a hotel, on a night when she told me she was at a friend's birthday party. I confronted her about this, and she tried to concoct lies about the birthday party being at the hotel. But that made no sense as she has Googled several hotels before choosing one to book. I could also see from her location history that she went straight to the hotel, contrary to her story that she had drinks in town first. Eventually, she had no choice but to admit to having had an affair with a work colleague. This time, she admitted sex was involved, but that it meant nothing. Once again, she blamed me. She said she had the affair because I wasn't giving her enough attention. Sure, we had a decent month of BDSM fun, but she said I was incapable of making permanent or lasting change. And like the fool I am, I talked about reconciliation.
Oh my god!
But unlike her previous affair, where reconciliation involved sex on D-Day, this time she said she wasn't sure. She said she thought our marriage was damaged beyond repair. I persisted and said we really ought to give it another go, for our daughter's sake if nothing else. In the back of my mind, however, I was entertaining doubts about my wife's story that the affair was a one-night stand and that meant nothing. If that's all it was, why would she seem so reluctant to want to reconcile? So I seized the opportunity to take a sneaky look at her WhatsApp messages, and at that moment, I knew our marriage was surely over. She was talking to her affair partner, saying she was in love with him, fantasizing about living with him, and talking about how I was a bad husband, who made her do all the household chores.
I feel like we've been here before. Have we been here before?
I don't think I've ever been so angry. I shouted at her, called her all kinds of names, and said I wished she were dead. I got in the car with our daughter, wanting to get far away from my wife, but she climbed in the car with me. That night, we drove around aimlessly, and I think I surprised myself by how quickly my anger subsided and reconciliation became the topic of conversation once again. This time my wife said she would do anything to reconcile. She said she was stupid for having the affair and undoubtedly stupid for lying about it. She said she had only been speaking to the affair partner for a week prior to the affair, and that she had got herself into a situation that she didn't know how to get out of. Instead of blaming me this time, she blamed her mental health, said she'd do anything to try and fix herself and fix the marriage. Maybe this was a tactic to calm my anger and stop me from doing some drastic, like outing her affair to all her family and friends. She agreed to a complete open phone policy and GPS tracking. She said she'd end all contact with the affair partner and would even sign off sick from work until she found a new job, so that she wouldn't see him at work. Well, these measures lasted all of 2 days until I caught her talking to the affair partner again on a different app. At this point, I asked her if she's really serious about reconciliation, or if maybe her feelings for the affair partner are real. Yes, she finally admitted she thinks she is in love with the affair partner, and not with me. My heart sank. And in the days that followed, my wife has openly continued her affair with the affair partner. She has arranged to move out of our family home and into a rental flat to be with him. She has already started immersing herself in his hobbies, cooking his favorite dinners, and leaving him love notes.
Oh my god, this is happening again.
And this all happened hardly a month after she and I were trying for a baby. Our relationship ended almost as quickly as it started. Whereas 6 years ago, I was the knight in shining armor who rescued her from her dull and abusive boyfriend, things had now come full circle. This time, I was the dull and abusive husband that she needed rescuing from, and the affair partner was her knight. So maybe I deserve the way things have ended. I bet her first boyfriend wasn't such a bad guy after all. It makes me wonder whether mine and my wife's relationship was ever really meant to be. After a whirlwind romance, a series of tragedies kept us together, but the birth of our daughter and the mundane of parenthood was an obstacle we couldn't overcome. I'm not sure why I'm telling you all this. I think it's just to pass the time as I spend another sleepless night in bed, waiting for the pain of betrayal to turn into something vaguely resembling acceptance.
Wow, like a bitch.
And that's what Frieza said.
OP, if she is willing to cheat with you, then what makes you think that you're so goddamn special that she will not cheat on you? Anyone that will cheat on their partner is not someone you should take seriously, and certainly not someone you should marry, you goddamn donut. The red flag was there from the very beginning, but you bought her lies about the other guy, and now you are no different than him. No, I'm sorry. He did much better than you because you fucking married the bitch. You actually did her ex a huge favor. Also, you're doing another dude another favor by raising his daughter with your wife. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.